guys wanted that
One
total.
thing, don't.
The number that's the 649,335, like those numbers across that balance are what, those were the numbers that were in QuickBooks for the budgets, or maybe, sorry.
What we found is a bunch of different numbers
Oh, no,
on
sorry.
budget numbers, because some things were in my budget and some things were like a separate budget depending on, so if I sound like, well, the numbers don't seem
So-
perfect, I wouldn't be surprised.
So these
Okay.
numbers down here,
There's
this-
some overlap in everything, I would imagine, you know, so.
It's been tough for me because here I am 5 years into this and I've done this like 3 different ways.
Yeah.
Because I've been through 3 sets of,
Well, hopefully that won't happen in the
That's
future,
what I
but.
told you. But Jay,
If I-
see that on on 2010, you've got the 711,841 on the total right
Yeah.
down here. That is, and I have the budgets that I printed off from QuickBooks. So those numbers are the total numbers that match the QuickBooks budget.
That's everything in the highway department's
Everything
budget.
that they accounted for, which
Well-
just excludes the capital.
there could be a straggler there because.
Okay.
And the capital reserves are tricky
They-
because they only hit QuickBooks when there's within that year, when there's kind of an in and an out, if you will.
Right, when they're actually appropriated, the
When-
monies
yeah,
are finally
yeah.
appropriated, so that might explain some.
Nothing against you guys, I'm not all that confident with some of the numbers because
let's see
of
what we got.
what's happened, but anyway.
Sure.
Not saying this year's
No,
numbers,
no,
just,
absolutely.
all right.
I feel like I'm at a bingo parlor here.
Yeah.
D,
I guess we'll just start, I'm going off of this one.
Which
line
one?
What's
by
that one?
line.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
The very top page in the packet,
yeah.
Page
Page
2.
two.
or the second
Okay.
page after this.
And this will be a little slow, but, I guess wages, I guess we're asking for 4% increase. The other thing that I'm asking is to increase our call-out pay a little bit, come up to the same rate as the state of New Hampshire DOT. Right now, we get $100 a month for like 4 months.
Yeah, you do,
State of New Hampshire, they do like November, December, January, February, March, April.
6 months.
At 100.
right now, we do December through March.
At how much a month?
We do 100 now.
No, the state.
State 135.
Okay. And is that what you mean by the stipend? Is that
Yeah.
included in this highway
That's what she's
wages? Is
calling
the
that, yeah.
stipend? Okay,
Which
got
is
it,
call-out pay.
got it.
So I'm asking to increase that a little bit.
Yep.
135.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question on the 4%? I don't want, the national recognized increase is 1.5 in inflation. Where did we come with 4%?
Well,
I only get 1.5%. That's all I get.
it had been 4%, oh, sorry,
No.
last.
Well, last year, we looked at a 4% rate of increase because it had been down, actually, the cost of living index seems like for New England was close to 3%. I believe, John, you may know more about that.
I don't know what it is presently yet.
There was some employees 2 years ago that got a 2% level of increase and some that got a 3%. And we kind of took a look at how we stacked up against our counterparts around and felt like we were a little under, and that if we could bump that up to 4%, maybe for a couple, 2-3 years, we'd probably get closer to being in the middle of the pack. Not that that's right or wrong, but that was the
That was
logic.
our thought.
I guess we've kind of, 3 to 4% is roughly somewhere around $1 an hour, I think.
Mhm. For your typical.
It can
rate
be
of pay.
anywhere from 75 cents to a little bit over $1 an hour.
I've got the breakdown on this sheet.
On the
last one?
Wages, yeah,
You know,
on the far right-hand corner.
pretty much every year, our health insurance goes up 7%, like everybody in the world, but which is gonna change in the future, I guess, but. So we're going backwards no matter what, but so ain't everybody else in the country.
Well, I guess it's for discussion, and I told Jay before you all came in that I'm playing the I'm the new guy card. So I'll do what you all want to do, and I'm not going to throw stones at it. I'm just raising questions,
Yeah.
saying that I ran calculations on the computer. They have this, what's it worth 10 years from now? And it's, if it's not actually, as far as comparisons go, I can find comparisons where people have reductions in salary. They don't, I can dig it all, we can dig up anything you want, you can dig up this comparison, that comparison. So the question I have is, if, and I say this with delicacy, I'm not a fan of the federal government, okay? But they come up with these things at which they say, Lockard, this is your rate. It's 1.5%. That's all you're going to get. And they say, that's the official rate. So looking at another rate, I guess, is my question is, I heard what you said, try to bring people up to the middle. This is not that there are any evil players any place. This is everybody earns their money. Everything's cool. I'm not questioning that. So my question is only that, I don't know, to some extent, I feel like we just reach up there and pull out 4%.
Well, I guess the way I look at it, if you want to maintain quality employees and not just have anybody coming off to maintain quality employees, they want 3 to 4% raise a year. And if you don't, not saying you're not going to have somebody to do the job, but it's what kind of quality employees you want.
And there is value in the competition. I assume Conway's going to do 4% or something. Is that what
We
they
can
do?
find out. So we're not, we're not
Yeah.
approving anything here today. We're just kind of going through the numbers, and
I'm
again,
just
we can
discussing
investigate.
it.
Yeah,
I'm
we
not-
can investigate this more and find out, what Conway's anticipating doing, and maybe find out what the base salaries are for.
But just keep in mind, when we compare to other places, who you compare, because,
Sure.
you're comparing to Conway Highway as a union, and they make way more than we do,
Yep.
way more.
Well, you can compare, this is what I meant. You can pick any comparison and, say, well, they
Right.
make $8
We
an
did
hour
we did the
more.
comparison last year or the year before when we did a bunch
I
of
think it was
raises.
2 years ago.
And we were basically average. We weren't the lowest, but we weren't the highest. So
And there's nothing, I don't have any problem with being average. I think that's fine. I'm just raise the question and.
Yeah, no,
But it's certainly worth investigating. Again, we don't have to decide anything today. We're not really here for that. But just to point something out in my teaching experience, we lost a teacher who had like 12 years experience to a school down south. He lived almost right in the middle, so he had a choice between which schools. And they paid him 15 grand more. And we lost a pretty good math teacher on that because basically we were outbid. We got to watch out for that. I think we have to be competitive with our neighbors because, obviously, people who we have are working for us now could leave if greener pastures are over there.
Now, is the insurance, everybody equal on the insurance, or do we still have employees that get all their insurance paid for?
I think there's 2 police officers that are left with the grandfather rule,
Right.
Carl and Sean. And I don't believe there's anybody else that has that
Now, is that
level of insurance
a
contribution.
grandfather, that's quite a bit there. Is that grandfathered forever, or is that
Well,
gonna
as long as
be?
they're employed and keep their insurance. If they retire, they get the package that they get when they retire. So whatever
So-
health care package they have.
So as long as they're here, they'll never have to pay towards it?
Well, that's a good question. It's pertinent and it's fair, because obviously my insurance rates and my contribution rates have been adjusted in my job in the past, and
Mine too.
it seems like we're revisiting our health insurance policies and whether we stick with where we're at or move somewhere else constantly, yearly. And so it's a fair question. I wasn't here when that all came about, the disparity, John. I don't know if that was when it was your first year on the board, or you could shed some light on why Carl and Sean were kept at that rate.
It was for the medical package because they had such, other people had such a hit for the, you know, increase, the 20% or whatever they had to pay, and those guys didn't. So we adjusted their raises accordingly.
Yeah, they got 1% and we got like 3%.
Yeah,
Right?
that's what, so
Which-
that was what, that we considered that part of their
But we're
pay,
not
really.
locked into their insurance policy. We could change that, I think is what Jay's question is. Or could we? Because I don't know the answer.
I don't know the answer. I want to say that they can opt out of it, but I don't think we can force them out. But any
Okay.
hire we hire now would be under the new 20%
Got it. Yeah,
policy.
Yeah,
But there's nothing really in writing about their agreement.
so it's a separate issue
Okay.
than the fire department and the road agent and the highway department, but it's something that's probably wise to look at, because if we're gonna get a question here during our work session,
Yeah, right.
we can probably count on thinking it's an important thing to have an answer to when we meet with the voters.
Highway, FICA, medical, that's nothing really to discuss, that's all a Julie, unless you got something to discuss
Right.
about it, but that's nothing for me.
What's that 6,300 placeholder?
Well, that I couldn't figure out. If you see on the rate sheet, I
Yep.
believe that Diane may have created this spreadsheet, and under health insurance, there was a $6,300 placeholder, which I took away because I have no idea what that was for, and Jay didn't know what that was for.
Where's
But
the
last year, it
$6,300?
Right here.
it was right here.
Oh,
And I, on the far right, I mentioned, I said, had 6,300 in health. So I took that away because I have no idea what that would be for.
okay.
Health insurance, that's all, well, we just discussed that, I guess that's all her. Pension, that's nothing to discuss for me. Highway and streets, sand, that's pretty much can stay the same. The reason it's high is because that's what it was from before I was here. And ever since I've been here, we've gotten some better rates on sand. So we've always opted to leave it at the 24,000 just in case of a really bad year. I think since I've been here, I don't think we've spent all of that yet, but. Gravel, it's pretty straightforward, no reason to increase that, I don't think. Salt, price hasn't gone up in a couple of years, so I don't think there's any reason to increase that. Culverts. There's a little bit of an increase there, and the reason is if we do some work on Dundee Road on the Jackson end, there's 3 or 4 extra culverts there that I want to upgrade. So as you can see, we spent almost all of the 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
So wanted to add a little bit there. Highway road maintenance, that's one of the big questions. That comes down to you tell me how much money we're gonna put into the roads, because you give me 100,000 and I can waste it. You give me 500,000 and I can spend it.
Now, we did have a article last year that,
Yep. and
Gotta
let me-
keep us
let
some
me
money,
pull
right?
out my-
There should be the articles that apply just on the lower portion of the sheet you were just looking at, John. On the
this one?
right-hand side, right
So,
right here.
so basically what we do
It
is
says
we
the warrant
have,
articles.
okay,
we have highway road maintenance, we have state highway block grant, which we'll get to, which is 38,000, which we have no control over that, that's what the state gives us.
right.
So that 38 goes into roads right along with whatever we make our highway road maintenance. And last year we did the $200,000 money from the unreserved fund balance.
Right.
So we had the biggest year ever of putting into roads.
Now, the unreserved fund balance, is that what we just adjusted down to 17%?
Yes.
Yes.
And last year, we put some money in for roads.
And the
And
grader.
have we
And
decided
the
what we're
grader.
gonna do with that downward adjustment yet? Are we locked into that for anything?
Well, we adjusted the tax rate on it. That was.
We used it all to adjust the
Right,
tax rate,
right.
and that's already locked in.
Only the portion that brought it down to that 700,000 or So I think, I don't know how many.
So in other
like
words, to find-
200,000
We
or
still
whatever.
have, I don't know what the number
700
is.
something
Yeah,
thousand.
$714,000, I believe it was.
That's the 17% number.
That's the 17% number, so there's money in there.
Right.
If we wanted to allocate, say, $100,000 or $200,000 to roads, bridges, whatever we want to do. If we want to.
But we're at the high end of the
We're at the high end
recommended
of the
cap.
recommend, so we do have some leeway there.
How much did we take out of that unreserved fund balance?
It was it 100 and?
I want to say 123 or something.
Yeah, 100
Oh, I thought it was a lot more than that.
No,
it wasn't a ton. I mean,
we have to look back at the numbers.
All right.
but, yeah.
Okay.
But we do have a little latitude there if we want to hit, bring that to the voters and say, we want to use another $100,000.
How much did we up the road maintenance with, out of that unreserved fund balance last year? What was the amount we
We went
allocated?
from normally of 160 has been a
well,
120 plus 40.
was the question, what was the fund balance last year?
What did we take out of the unreserved fund balance that we used for highway maintenance?
Well, there was 200,000.
200.
Said funds to.
You had an extra
unreserved
200,000
Extra
fund balance.
200.
Right,
On
they
top
came
of my
out- they came out
regular
of the-
budget.
Unreserved fund balance.
for road maintenance.
For road.
Yeah, we spent basically 375,000
All right.
on roads. So normally, in the past, we've always done somewhere between 150 and 200,
So we kicked in extra 200,000.
roughly.
And that adjustment down on the unreserved fund balance was only like 100 something. I was thinking it was more than
I
that.
think
I
it was,
have, I don't remember.
Okay.
do you want me to grab it?
If
Could
you
you?
know right where it
Yeah.
is and you can reach it, sure.
So basically, what I've got on my list for paving is Dundee, which is shimming the Bartlett end, which just the Bartlett end, which is from Cross Road to the Bartlett Town line, you're talking 78 grand just to shim it. Just a basic thin
Cool.
shim.
This is out of the
Um,
153, this is how you're proposing to use it?
No, this is just
Things he has on the docket.
My
to do,
list.
The wish list.
wish list, and
Christmas
then
list.
you can tell me how
For
much
this 153 budgeted amount?
for whatever.
Okay. 78.
78 there, and then on the Jackson end of Dundee, on the paved part, if we decide we want to do a little bit of reclaim, the culverts that heave all the time.
Right.
Yeah, The
You
big
know,
yeah.
bad frost heaves that are up there.
If we decide to reclaim them and replace them culverts, those are the culverts I was talking about.
Mhm.
You're talking 13,000 in reclaim and 65,000 to
That's
to
78,000.
pave that.
Yeah.
So just if we, let's just say we do a little bit of reconstruction, if that's what you wanna call it, and a bunch of paving, you're looking at roughly 89, 65, 70, 80, 160,000 just for Dundee.
Right.
And then I got side roads on Tyrol need to be finished at some point. That's 216,000 bucks. No, that includes Dundee, sorry. 60 grand to finish the side roads on Tyrol, which is 670 ton, which is Vista, Balsams, Alpine, and Christmas Farm Lane. So the total just on Dundee and Tyrol would be 216. The next section that needs to be done is we need to put some money on Jackson Ridge, which would be just shimming, basically, if we don't rebuild anything. Just shimming alone would be 130 grand up there.
I'm sorry, where?
Jackson Ridge,
Jackson Ridge.
Eagle Mountain, and Adams Road.
And what was the amount for those three? Jackson Ridge? 135.
I can't shut it off till I stop talking.
Profile 3, profile 1, loud alert.
Now, not saying all this is gonna be done this year.
Right.
The other thing that we should do is, at some point, we're gonna have to get on, like the road that you live on is in good shape, but it's getting to the point, if we let it go any farther, then we're gonna get into
Right.
So that, I mean, there's a few other roads too that,
Top coats or?
So that'll be our number one priority. How much is that one?
so.
Do you have a number on that, Cameron?
Basically, it comes down to what your budget, your tax, what you're gonna allow to give me for.
Well, did you give us these in your order of priority?
I haven't given you those yet.
Okay, so these are amounts, but they're not necessarily the
I
priorities.
mean, I can give you a copy of this if you don't mind it in
Well, I mean,
handwriting.
what's the most important?
I think Dundee and Tyrol is probably, I mean, Jackson Ridge has got some bad
Yes.
spots, but probably Dundee, Tyrol, and some of Jackson Ridge is the worst.
So
You
it
want
is kind of
copies this?
prioritized.
Sort of, yeah, oh yeah, it's
Okay,
prioritized.
okay, that's what
You
I-
want a copy of
No,
that?
no,
Just
no,
wanted to
I
make
just-
sure we, you know,
So in other words, if you had $156, you'd dump it all into Dundee. If you had an extra $60K, you'd add Tyrol. And if you had an extra $135K, you'd add Jackson Ridge, Eagle Mountain, and Adams. Got it. Got it.
and what we're proposing is 153,000.
Yeah.
Well, we're at, and that's just for highway road ma, remember,
You get the block grant.
150, but then you got the block grant, so that'd be
38,
150.
so that's 191.
See, what we did is we took
We just,
the 23,000 from the backhoe lease that we no longer
Have.
Yeah.
spend,
Right.
and she added that to highway road maintenance.
got it.
So
Yeah.
took that 23 from there.
So you take
Doesn't
that
mean
off
we
this
have
list?
to do that.
Oh, so you
Backhoe
add the
lease right there, good.
23, but it's not increasing the taxes.
It's not increasing the
Got it.
budget.
Right, 'cause we're gonna-
Other than
we're
the
gonna
other.
zero out.
Increasing the budget, right, same thing.
We're gonna zero out the backhoe lease.
Any questions, Bill, or
That'll
do
be
you
a
have a
big
new?
Right.
goose egg.
Yeah,
It's okay, I'm learning.
yeah.
So what do you know, the roads, the roads are the roads.
So, do we need to hammer that anymore, or go on to the next?
Well, I think we're,
What's your thought on the roads there, Bill? It's a
These
lot
are-
of money to spend.
I know, I have to tend to, I would ask Jay again. I mean, I know it's our responsibility to decide on the money, but, I mean, I'd have to go back to Jay and
Well, I
say,
think-
what do you have to do? What do you have to do? You-
well,
What do I have to?
Good
oh,
question.
Well, I know you don't have to do anything.
I would say for years, we weren't doing what we had to do, and
That
that's
was a
why we're
problem.
here having this conversation today, because our roads in this town got to such a state of disrepair because we weren't keeping up with them, that we just ended up facing a bigger and bigger problem.
Okay.
And so, you know, I think, what's the big bang for your buck? How do you be judicious? How do you be responsible at keeping up with what needs to be done and yet not frivolous? And it's a good question. I don't have the answer, but
This isn't the only option. I mean, you could, Dundee, we don't have to reclaim a section and put binder down. We could just shim everything.
when was the last time that Jackson end of Dundee was done, though? It's fairly recent.
Paved?
Shimmed.
Shim, not for a while.
It
I
hasn't
don't
been, okay.
know. I'd have to dig back into the records.
Got it.
I basically
Colors
got
are pretty
I
bad.
did
That's the.
Yeah.
a few years ago, I did like a capital improvement plan for the roads. I got it all listed out. And we're kind of on track. We're on track with that particular plan. I mean, the plans kind of change yearly a little bit.
Sure.
So let's just say you decided to give me 216,000, which would mean all the side roads on Tyrol and all of Dundee, we'd be on track with that plan. And then Jackson Ridge would be moved to 2015. And then maybe like your road and Mill Street. So we'd be on track. If we get, but 216, if you budget, if you give me 150 something, plus 38
191.
isn't enough to do the 216, so I either gotta adjust how I'm gonna pave Dundee.
Or we could warrant
Or-
article some of the unexpended
Yeah.
funds
Right.
in March. We
You know,
want to
if you
put it up to the
decided,
voters.
if you decided you wanted to put it up to the voters and take 100,000 out of capital, not capital, unreserved
Unreserved.
fund balance, so that I had 250 plus 38, 290
291.
something, that would
keep you ahead of the game.
Yeah, that would allow me to do what I want to do for 2014 and get a little bit of a jump on a couple of roads too for next year. That's entirely up to
Well,
the taxpayers.
So by your estimates, another 63 on top of what you're already in your budget proposal with gets Tyrol and Dundee done.
Yep.
And so,
Well, not quite, because we have the block grant that's in there too, so it's a little less than that. Block grant's part of that road maintenance, right?
Correct.
Hey, Burr?
okay.
So as far as the budgeting purposes goes, are we gonna leave that 153.2 in the highway road maintenance that we've
Or
taken?
do we want to adjust that now, or?
I
Higher,
guess
raise
my
it, lower it?
recommendation would be leave my regular budget in highway road maintenance the way it's written
And
and
then,
leave it up to the voters
So
to
the-
decide on the extra.
Here's-
so that, and that would go into the road construction capital reserve, we'd write the warrant article so that
Correct.
whatever extra amount would go into that account, does that?
Here's why I like
Okay.
that, because I think that we've already upped the budget with the lease amount, and I'd like to just hear the voters, weigh in. And if we had a separate warrant article for $63,000 and we explained what that was gonna do and what our overall timeline was, and that we wanted to hear from them and their thoughts on our road systems,
Perfect.
then we'd have their input.
How much do you think it should be?
Well, I think it should be at least 63,000, and that gets you to your basic Dundee Tyrol number.
216?
Yeah.
Without, these are
But
estimates, so we should probably,
somebody
We
else.
can work the
right.
numbers out, but I
So-
think, yeah, don't forget the block grant is in there as well, so it's really not 60.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so you gotta take out 38, so whatever that is, 20.
Well, 150 is what I get out of my
It's
budget,
120, you need 23,000 more.
plus
Again-
38.
Oh, you wanna stay at 130, I'm sorry, you wanna stay at 130, excuse me.
So 150 plus
168.
38 is 190 something. So yeah,
Okay.
you're
I'm
right.
sorry, you're right.
You're right.
Yep.
You're right. 20 something.
But if you wanna keep it at 130, is that what you were saying? I think that's a good idea, if that's what you were saying.
I was saying, keep this number that Jay has here, yeah.
At 130 and then warrant the rest of it.
Yeah,
I'll keep it 130 and not boost it to 150.
Yeah. And then warrant the rest
I
of
don't
it for the,
think,
for
I don't
the
think
money.
Bob's looking at the same numbers.
no, I am, I thought, I did, so you're saying adjust this amount down from
Right.
153 to 130?
130, and then we'll warrant
The
the
rest.
difference on the,
So you'd have to warrant 60.
whatever it is.
whatever.
I think you were right the first time, 68.
Okay, all right.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine, and
Does that make
so-
sense to you?
Yeah, yeah.
So we're gonna leave it at
Following you.
130.
Yep.
Okay.
Leave it 130, and that, again, it puts the voice on the
Right.
voters, so.
And
And
he's
my
going.
budget's
yeah.
actually probably gonna drop a little bit because of the backhoe lease.
Right, and that's
so-
saving face too.
Right, and so, he's going through the warrant, the line items here, but it's, before we move on, as far as the warrant article, is that what we want to limit the amount we ask to?
Do we have the numbers now?
Of what,
Oh,
so
yeah.
the amount that we
Gave
Took out
reduced it
dollar
was
amount.
137,692.
Okay, so that's what we returned to bring us at the 17%.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
And then what we
so,
have now,
so
700.
we have 784,145.
And if we took 100,000 out of that, let's just make a round number, would that bring us to the percent? What was that approximation, what was the next one?
Well, the jump from 17% was 816, and then it drops down to 10%, which is 480.
So we're way above the 10%, so that's good. Yeah, that seems
so
reasonable.
another 100,000 out of there will take us to what percentage? Probably 15 and a half?
Yeah, somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay,
And that's close to 70%, which is kind of where I wanted to stay if I could, but.
it's still in a bit of an upper end, upper middle.
Right, and again, the voters get to decide.
Right, right.
You know, and then it's in
Right.
their hands.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm
So
fine with
you're
that.
thinking a nice round 100K
Yeah,
figure?
and then we may give them a little jump start on a couple side roads if you can, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I like to stay ahead of the plan if possible, if we can.
Well, you're always looking at unforeseen things,
Right.
but, so what do you think about that, Bill?
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Makes
All right,
sense to
so
me.
for the warrant article, we're gonna ask for the 100K.
Yeah. And we can adjust it between now and then anyway.
Right.
We don't have to, come up with the final number right now.
All right, so we're gonna stick with 130
Yeah.
for,
Yeah, for your budget.
Okay?
all right, street signs, flags, that's pretty basic. Gasoline and diesel, Seems like we're,
I've always just used 3% for budgeting. I've always done, it's just always been a 3%.
Got it.
So that was, you know,
so it seemed like we should increase fuel a little bit, just with
That's
cost
fine.
of living stuff.
Yep.
Telephone, that's pretty basic, that's
Same.
a Julie item.
and we're gonna actually have a meeting about the phones, with Rob Cassell on
Yeah, I thought we were,
Thursday.
yeah. let's go
So,
about that.
and if you guys approve his proposal, then the rates are actually gonna.
Okay.
Before the meeting, you're meeting with him, and he's gonna, and then there'll be a proposal here, or is he gonna be
He's
part of
already
our
got the
meeting?
proposal, and he's gonna
He's
give
gonna
the
present it.
selectmen's
Okay,
meeting,
got
yeah.
it.
Okay, good.
Before we get into the next few line items, one thing I just want to mention, on a lot of these, like gasoline and special equipment, supplies, things that I use every day, cutting edges, diesel fuel, all tires, one thing I've noticed is everything's increasing the price. Tires, cutting edges, fuel, supplies, it's just going up. So it's a matter of whether if we don't do a cost of living this year on some of these, we will be doing them in the future.
Well, I think we need to do some of it because we're over budget on a couple
Well,
of those items.
I'll explain that as we
Okay.
go.
All right, so where are you?
So gasoline, we added 3% there.
That's fine.
Telephone, internet, we're okay.
Yep.
Heavy equipment, parts and repairs,
Good shape.
we're okay there. I mean, you never know what happens there. You could blow the budget with one, I mean, I could have a breakdown next week and we
Is
could
it-
be over budget.
Is that where your tires come out of, that
No.
line item there?
No.
Okay.
Special equipment,
Yeah.
what that is, a lot of that, some of that is special stuff that wants, like tools or equipment. But a lot of that, what is in special equipment, the two big items in there is tires and cutting edges.
Oh.
And the reason that I set it up that way is on a year that we didn't have a lot of snow and I didn't buy cutting edges, because cutting edges are a huge, huge part of my budget. They're like $5,000 a year.
What are they used for?
Cutting edges
For what?
on the plows.
Oh, on the plows.
Wear
okay.
item.
Yep.
If I don't have a big winter, that might be a year that I can use that money to buy a tool or a drill press or something. But on years where I use a lot of that, I don't get to spend money on special stuff. Same thing with tires. Some years, like last year, I spent a lot of that money on tires. Next year, I may not spend as much, so
Yeah, it's not every year.
things shuffle
Yep,
around.
yep,
That's
yep.
why I left, instead of putting cutting edges and tires like in a operations supplies type thing, I leave it
Okay.
in special equipment.
Okay.
So you're happy leaving that at
Yeah,
16,000?
I went over a little bit, but it was because of tires. I bought a
Okay.
shitload of tires.
Scratch that.
We got it.
We got it.
That's all right. Who
That's
cares?
my
Who cares? That's all right. Small.
So I think that can stay the same.
Yep.
All right.
Supplies went over,
Geez, I don't know, that's over by almost $2,000.
we can increase it for cost of living if you want. It kind of goes up and down. I mean, I've had some years where I've been a couple grand under too. Supplies is mostly Napa, Lucy's, just everyday
Nickel
supplies.
and dime stuff.
Yeah. So I wasn't too, let me look at my other sheet.
Well, if you're not concerned about it, I'm a little
I'm-
worried that
It's
you're
not
2,000
huge.
over.
I mean, a cost of living would be good. If we don't do it this year, we'll definitely have to do it next year. So if you want to add it, you guys, we can add 3% to that one too if,
Well, it's been pretty steady. So it was 15 grand in 10 and 11, and then 16 and 12, 13, and now 14. So it's been pretty stagnant. I think that's probably not a bad idea to start looking at some of these and throwing cost of living increases into some of this stuff over time. The same logic you used with your CPI to increase your fuel by 3% probably also holds to things like supplies and small tools.
so we
and
haven't
oil.
changed it since 2012.
Well,
Right.
2011, yeah, right. It went from
From
15 to 16.
4 years ago,
Yeah,
3 years ago,
so,
Yeah,
3 budgets ago.
if you don't have an issue, I guess I'd say add 3%.
well, if you use 16.8, I don't know how you guys feel about it, John and Bill, but I mean, unless you want to explain how 16.8 was just a real
It's
outlier and not indicative of, but you seem to be saying
well-
this stuff's going up and up and up.
It is. Napa is going through the roof all the time. Lucy's is going up all the time. Some years I get really sick of like calling certain places like, you know, toilet paper or paper towels, you know. I can't stand every month buying that stuff. So I may buy a case
Big
of
one.
it half as big as this table and not have to buy it for 2 or 3 years. Same thing with flags. I think it makes sense to do it that way.
Bulk.
Less billing,
Buy in bulk,
less everything. So there has been some years where it doesn't go over, but
Does it make sense to bump that up a little bit, especially because his budget's going to be down with the lease?
I think that's a good item to, if you're gonna pick a
yep.
quick
up-
1,000 to throw in there.
Up 3% or you want, I like even numbers.
I
Keep
like
it
even
even.
numbers
Keep
too.
it even.
So
17.
17 for both of those. Bill, you agreement on that?
Yes.
You said both, so special equipment and supplies?
17, 18, correct.
Okay.
How about the training?
Miscellaneous, can stay the same. That's, we're gonna shuffle some of these line items, not gonna change the money, but
Yep.
I think we're gonna organize it a little
Yeah,
better.
we've done a little bit of budget.
Back and
revamp,
forth.
Or chart of account revamp.
So that's just kind of miscellaneous, that's not a big deal. Contract hire, that's fine, that's a little bit of everything.
How come you didn't need that much?
We swapped out
Well,
the mowing
what
for
has
the
helped-
cemeteries, wasn't that one of the?
What helped there big time is the mower we bought 2 years ago. I didn't hire out a lot of roadside mowing this year, we did it all ourselves. I did hire a little bit out, which worked really well, which I talked about at the last selectmen's meeting.
right.
So that has helped big time, buying that mower has cut down on some of this expense. The other thing that's in here that, like the $4,000 for snowballing the sidewalks is in there. So that's been paid, so all of 2000 from now till spring is paid.
Really? That's good.
The other thing that's in here is if all of a sudden I got 2 or 3 broken trucks at once, say next week, and I need to hire somebody to help me plow.
That's where you'd
that-
find the money.
So there's a little bit of a cushion there.
Contract hire. Okay.
If I needed an excavator in the summertime to help me do some ditching, I didn't do as much this year as I have in the past. So I
prudent to have
didn't max out that line item this year, that's why it's lower.
Okay, it might be one of those ebbs and tides things, this one's down, and the other ones
Yep.
are up, you know,
Yep.
so, okay, very happy with that. Bill, you have any questions?
Fine, no, I'm good.
I mean, you know, ultimately, if we don't spend it, it goes back into
Right.
the pot, so,
Okay, because there is a addition down here when we get to it.
okay.
So that's okay. The backhoe lease, that's done, gone. So you're not gonna see that on there after today,
Nice 23 grand saved.
and for a few more years.
Yeah, nice, yeah.
Utilities, propane, that's a Julie item. Is that that's propane for the town garage, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So you're telling me that it's only $5,000 a year to heat that big
Well,
garage?
we're gonna be looking at, the White Mountain Oil, because we think that, we just wanna double check our.
Yeah, because that looks awfully low.
So we're gonna double check that.
I thought it was closer to 10, so I don't,
Yeah,
Okay.
that one looks,
so I don't think we need to increase it from 10,
all right.
Okay.
Okay,
or 10.2, whatever it was.
so leave it
So-
at the 10 too?
Leave it as 10-2?
Unless you find somewhere that
Okay.
Yeah.
propane's gone somewhere other than this line item.
Okay,
Okay,
Street lighting, that's straightforward, nothing to me. I believe, after looking at that, I think our cost has gone down by going to LEDs.
yeah, that's what the guy said it would, so,
It looks like it has.
Oh, that's
so.
cool.
And we have got like no complaints on it, other than
I had one, I think, but that was taken care of, no big deal.
1 out of 800 taxpayers ain't bad.
But it wasn't related to the light switch over. You talking about Pogen's old house?
No,
Oh.
it was Becky Armstrong's house, the thing was just blinding her.
Oh,
So
oh,
they
oh.
just fixed it, I guess.
Got it.
They just turn it or put on a new head on it or something.
Got it.
They're angled,
all
designed
right.
to angle a certain ways.
What I've got next on my list,
All right,
we've got to add into my budget, maintenance of town grounds,
And
which used to be in maintenance of town property, which was in
so Jay and I
a
had
separate budget.
a conversation, and we
Whose
thought it would make
Hers.
a lot more sense to keep all of his budget items
Okay.
under his department.
Mhm.
Instead of him looking at, town property stuff, and then it just seemed to make more sense. So we were gonna take his portion of the money out of, that line item.
And put it in there.
And make a new account.
Okay.
What's
So
the
mine-
advantage of having it separated out like it has been?
Like it has been?
Yeah.
I don't think there has been an advantage, I think it's just, that's the way it's been done.
Been all just mold together, everything, all the.
I think the
all
only
maintenance.
advantage
I'm just
might have
wondering why
been-
it was done that way. Sometimes the only answer you can get is
'Cause-
because that's the way it was done.
Yeah.
I get that. I'm just wondering if
Because
there's
it
a.
was maintenance of town property, which covered a
Okay. I
huge.
just wonder if there's an upside.
The only upside maybe, which we're gonna talk about in a minute, is if you didn't use it for groundwork, you used it for the redoing the office. Like, that's what we did.
Okay,
You
got
know,
it.
remember we spent a bunch of
Yep.
money on the office, redoing everything, but we didn't spend much money. So it was just a matter of having a pot of money rather than having, which I want to talk about a little bit in the next line item. So we're budgeting $5,000 for maintenance of town grounds, which is basically all of this grass you see here, this pavement you see here, skating rink grass, by the memorial and the ball field. And if you wanted details, I've got details, like I've got, maintenance of town property, I got 3,000 allocated for library and selectman's office area, 1,500 allocated for ball field, and 15 allocated for town hall and skating rink area. We need some loam at the town hall, skating rink area, possibly seal the parking lot at the old town hall, fertilize the ball field, and possibly some loam in this different spots around here. What that doesn't include, my budget is only the groundwork. Anything within the buildings is gonna be part of her maintenance to town buildings, property.
Okay.
So the next one, which is an addition, is highway building maintenance. 2 years ago, none of my fire or my highway budget had nothing to do with buildings in it. It was all come out of maintenance of town property. And I was told that from now on, we have to, each individual department budget has to cover their building. By, what's her name? The one she replaced.
Diane.
Diane. So the last couple of years, we've been trying to figure that out and figure out how much money and what needs to be done.
And what's the advantage
The-
of that?
I didn't know that was.
That's what I was told.
I can follow up with LGC.
That's
Yeah.
what I was told.
I mean,
I
you
gue- I
should, you
guess
should
it's
be
a-
in
it's
charge
a-
of the library's maintenance. of
It's
their-
a true number as to what your budget, it costs to run your department, I
His
guess. That's the
department.
advantage. The disadvantage is, we gotta decide how much cushion is gonna be there in case, just in case, I lose a garage door. I mean, if I accidentally, after working 30 hours straight, back through the garage door, I'm out $3,000 or $4,000. If we blow a furnace like we did, I need money to replace that. Well, now we gotta do that for the highway, just in case. We gotta do just in case for the fire. I gotta have money there to replace furnaces or a garage door. PD's gonna have to think about their furnace for their building. You're gonna have to think about your building. So you kinda, is it gross appropriation, is that the right term? You gotta appropriate money for this, so you're looking at a $20,000 money for furnaces or garage doors or buildings maintenance, whereas you might be able to do 10 in one pot
Right.
and just in case.
You need padding everywhere because you can't use the fire budget for the
Correct.
library need.
So
Correct.
weren't you saying?
I
that
don't,
It could make more sense to set up a warrant article with a capital reserve fund saying, this is for the what ifs to any town building?
Well, I think a big function of this budget line item is that it's a contingency fund. And contingencies are things you can't foresee.
Which there
And
was a
so-
contingency line item in maintenance of town
A
property.
year ago,
Yep.
the boiler in the town garage represented something we couldn't foresee. And there's something else over the next 12 months we can't foresee. So the disadvantage is if you've got these separate line items that basically are acting in part as a contingency fund, you've separated them out and you've kind of a bit hamstrung. Not that it's a bad thing, but then again, the advantage would be your departments are totally accountable for their own entirely.
Right.
So,
As opposed to being a pool
So,
of money that you could.
so I guess for highway building maintenance, if you wanna have a line item for that, it doesn't need to be huge for the highway, because the furnace problem we had was nothing we could foresee. I mean, it was a screw up on the installation, so it's none of our faults. So I don't think it needs to be a huge money item. I'm looking to see if I should have maintenance.
I mean, if we had something in there, like you said,
Yeah.
may only spend it, sorry about that, may only, spend it
Thought I
once every
had a
3 years,
sheet.
you know.
But are you saying set up a separate account for each department, or are you guys saying do one account for?
I would say one for each department
One for each,
and
okay.
have minimal amount of money in it, so,
And set it up as a capital reserve?
I would
Or
just
set
write
it
as a
up-
line item, if we
and
don't
then
use
just
it, we don't
rolls
use
over?
it.
Right,
Okay.
if it doesn't get used,
Okay.
it goes back
It
to.
goes back to the taxpayer, it goes in a, unreserved fund. and ultimately
I don't
somewhere
have
else.
it wrote down, but I'm pretty sure I was thinking $3,000 would cover.
the town garage.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully,
I
nothing.
mean, what's the
major.
most expensive thing you could go?
The furnace.
Furnace,
Well, that's $6,000.
okay.
But that's pretty, we should not have an issue like that. I mean, a garage door, if you wipe out a door, you're talking $3,000. I mean, hopefully we
Wouldn't
should.
insurance pay that? I mean, it would. insurance
Yeah, but we got,
Deal with it, buy it.
what do we got, a $10,000 deductible or something like
Probably,
that?
yeah. All right, we
So
think
I was thinking 3, I think. For some reason, I didn't have it. I think it was up for
three sounds fine to
discussion.
me. Bill?
I'm good. It's philosophically how you go, and
Hmm?
philosophically, whether you do one fund or 4 funds,
So it
don't
comes
have a
out of the
feel
same
for it.
wallet.
It's still the
Right.
same place.
But we'll be able to take out that, that item out of somebody else's budget, right?
All
Out
right,
of the other
so
one.
you're good with that? We're gonna add that in,
Yeah.
Julie, for 3.
Yep.
Okay,
So maintenance of town grounds was 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to make some notes.
sorry, 5 or 3?
Well, the maintenance of town grounds was
3.
5, and
Five.
highway building maintenance is 3.
Okay, and those are
All
2
right,
additions.
Yep,
We added 1,000 to
So-
17 and 18,
yep,
and we knocked out 23,000 out of item number 4.
yep.
And item number 21 was another 23,000, so we're looking pretty good, I think.
All right, now we get to the difficult stuff.
Oh, all right.
Dundee, the next one, Dundee Road Repair, that's done, so that's out of there. That isn't in my, what I call my regular, everyday budget. Oh, wait a minute, screwed up.
So we wouldn't be carrying that over this year because we're gonna, or are we?
No, that's done.
Okay, so that one's done.
Overdone, that was voted on by taxpayers, so that's done. State aid reconstruction, I've got,
This is the matching,
yeah, the matching one with the state. I've increased it a little, actually quite a bit, from 20 to 30. We don't have to do that, we could keep it at 20. I wanted to confront my guess is the taxpayers would gladly invest that much more money into the state roads. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm hoping to hit the state up. 20 that we put in and 20 that the state puts in, it needs more pavement. The state road's in worse shape than our roads. but that's entirely up to, I think the state aid reconstruction every year is voted on by. What?
Anna told me to come in. You have to pick up Anthony at 5.
I know that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Love you.
Like, let the taxpayers decide.
No, and they're good for the 20. The state's good for the 20. It's
Yeah.
not keeping up.
I mean, if you want to leave it at 20, I'm fine with that. It's just be nice to try to see if we can boost it and get this. See, the state's on a
Well,
different budget than us, so it's hard.
Right.
It's hard for the two of us to communicate.
Carter Notch Road.
By the time we discuss budgets, their budget's already done for
That's
the
right.
year, so it's
That's right.
hard to.
Right.
Right. No, I,
So I'm hoping if I could boost it, and then I can go to them and say, okay, I got 30 grand to put in, will you do 30?
What would that do? What do you do with it?
State aid
Well, I mean, what do
pays
you,
your road.
well, okay, but 60,000 isn't gonna pave much road, right?
No, that's why it needs to be increased.
Well,
We're only doing-
then I got
Increasing it
lost.
to
We're only
60,000
doing 40.
right now. Presently, we're only
We
doing
do-
Well,
20 in the state
okay,
does
but,
20.
okay, I'm just curious here. 40 isn't gonna pave anything, right?
Not much. All we paid was 20 paid from Tilney's, you know where I paid from George Bordash's house?
Yes.
all the way
To
up.
Gills Bridge. That was 20 grand.
Well, that's more than I thought. Okay. I
So-
thought it'd cost more than that to do that.
So presently we have 20 from us and 20 from the state.
Okay.
Now, do we want to up it to our end to 30?
you think,
And ask for
And
30
hoping the
from them.
state's going to give us 30?
you think it's a possibility they'd put in more if we did?
I think,
Oh, okay.
Right.
I think,
Then I support it, because we're leveraging our funds there.
I think so, but maybe not.
Well, if they don't, is that a
Well, we've got-
disaster? We just,
No, I mean, then we know next
We
year.
could talk about that. If
Okay.
they don't match, then we don't spend the extra 10, or we spend it anyway because we want to keep up with the road. We can have that discussion, absolutely.
But that's a taxpayers voted article.
When do we find out what they kick in?
I suppose I could get a hold of them, or we could just try to have a discussion with them. Their budget's what, July to July, so their budget's already decided.
For the rest of
But
this year?
what time of the year do you usually get a confirmation of what they'll do?
Middle of summer,
Okay, so it's really late.
yeah.
I mean, we like.
I'd say if you boost it to 30, and then we come July, when their budget is getting ready to get designed,
Well-
if we can boost it, we boost it.
Okay.
My guess is, I don't know, it's
Yeah.
hard to figure what
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah.
Like
Very
the
hard.
highway block grant,
Mhm.
we got it in July, but it's for 13 and 14. So it's a little bit,
So you use it
Confusing?
from July to July, basically.
right, we don't really, but,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, state aid reconstruction, that's a special article for you to write.
The state, the 30, yeah.
Yeah, that's a voted on. And was there another one we've already discussed that gets voted on?
Well, we knocked out the Dundee one.
Well, we're gonna
Okay.
do the road construction, and that's gonna be.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
The 100,000
Right.
unreserved fund
Yeah.
balance. Okay, all right, next. State highway block grant, that's pretty straightforward. We have no control over that.
What about the one above that?
that's just a total line,
Oh, that's the total?
yep.
Okay, sorry.
Vehicles in,
And the state highway block grant, I asked Jamie at DRA what to put, and she said use the same as last year.
Yep.
vehicles and equipment, that's just the graders, all right. So, the next subject is capital reserve funds and new equipment and special articles.
Right.
So, we'll go over to my list here. What I'm asking for 2014 is a new truck purchase. And let me explain what I want to do first before we get into details. What I'm asking to do is replace the small truck we have with another small truck. You don't have any paperwork on this yet. What I'm leaning towards doing, getting rid of the oldest truck we got, which is a bigger truck. It's an '05. Rotating the GMC, the small truck that we have, into that spare truck position and buying a new small truck. So what we're gonna end up with is, instead of having 3 large four-wheel drive, full-size wing trucks and 1 small truck, we're gonna have 2 big wing trucks and 2 small trucks. What it's doing for us, and it's got to do with the grader purchase from last year. Now that we got a newer, better grader that we can safely use more, by going to 2 small trucks, I'm hoping we'll save, hopefully in the long run, we'll save the town money rather than having a 3rd big truck. Because the bigger trucks are so much more money to maintain, repair when they break. Little storms, when we get like 1 inch or 2 that we have to go out, maybe we can take the 2 small trucks out and not have to take a big truck to try to save some money. So basically, long story short, we're trying to, like I had said at the grader purchase times, we're looking at ways to cut,
downsize.
to downsize a
So
little
what do you
bit.
have right now, 3 big and 1 small?
3 big and 1 small.
And the reason we're able to do that is because of the grader that we purchased.
Just as an example, you lose the transmission in the '05, which is a big truck. You could spend 15 or 20 grand on it, versus a small truck, you may spend 5 grand on it.
And he's actually put a fair amount of thought into this, and we would not, he's not recommending that we buy a small truck with an electrical.
Well, I'm still going back and
Still,
forth
are
on
you?
that, and I got 2
Hydraulic
options.
is the
The
heavier
truck
duty.
that we're looking at is basically a 5,500 it's a heavy-duty 1-ton, like you see the landscapers and stuff had. A little bit, there's 350s and 550s. 550 size. 2 options. One option is we either go with like all the contractors got around here, which is just the basic 550 with the Fisher plow, with the electric setup on it, dump body with the electric power unit on it, and a sander that goes in the back, like a Fisher sander that's an electric unit. You're looking at 75 grand for something like that, which is the cheap option. The better option is 93 grand, which is basically the same truck with a full, it's what they call central hydraulics package. I'm not, since I talked to you last, I'm still,
You're going back and
I'm
forth.
still bouncing back and forth which way I wanna go. For what the truck is gonna do, probably don't necessarily need to maybe go with the full hydraulics. Might be able to just save the money and go with a minimum thing that'll do the job. I'm still,
It's gonna wear out sooner? Maybe.
maybe not. Since I talked to you, I talked to the places that build the plow setups and dump bodies. He said a lot of towns are with the 1-ton size trucks are going to full electrics package just to save some money. I mean, it wouldn't be that big of a deal that if we decided the electrics weren't working right, rugged enough for what we do, you could still add
Put in a
the
hydraulic
hydraulics
system.
package later, or just go with the electric package on this truck, and then the next truck we'll know, the next small truck we buy, we'll know
What's out
to
there?
spend the extra money and go to hydraulics. It's kind of, there's some advantages to the electric package that I like, including the fact that it's cheaper. I mean, it's like
18,000.
20-something thousand bucks difference, so, but there's, some advantages to the hydraulics too. The one thing we got going for us is we've got the money to buy it. We've got the money in capital reserve
Right now.
with the sale of the truck, with the trade-in, or if we sell it. The difficult part is we're gonna have to try to sell it outright, because most Chevy or Ford or Dodge dealers don't take big international trucks in trade,
Right.
unless I find some way to make that happen.
Another town possibly.
So what we gotta make sure is in the warrant article, I assume you're gonna put a warrant article saying for people to vote on purchasing this, even though I think legally we don't have to do that. Your agents to expend the money in the capital.
Right, we
reserve.
have it in the capital funds, we can spend it.
So does this need to be a warrant
I
article?
don't know, I don't have to check into that, I don't think so.
Don't think legally it has to be.
I think it's,
Just, I don't care, just how much flack would you get, or we get, however you term it, if you bought the truck? Are people gonna say, hey, wait a minute,
We
you know,
didn't
and
vote.
is it gonna be an uproar that we didn't ask them? I don't know, that. I'm asking you guys.
well,
I know that answer.
the big issue last year was the grader.
I remember that.
And since that has been purchased, like Jay said, I think it's gonna take a little pressure off the fleet, as we would say.
It already has.
And, you know, maybe this is a way to downsize in equipment, and, you know, it may be the time to do it. I mean, we've got the money in there, we knew we were gonna buy a truck anyways. That's why we had to set up the capital reserve fund.
Just to give you guys
The
an
question is, the time
idea.
is now, or do we wanna wait a year, or what's the?
Well,
Well, let me just, that wasn't my question. My question was, if you don't take it to the town, this is what Jay was saying, if you don't take it to the town and say, we're gonna buy the truck, even though you have the money, or you just go ahead and buy it after the town meeting, are you gonna get a lot of flack out of that you went around us to do that?
Well, you want to be open and transparent. I think we are every time we make a truck purchase, because when we get to this point in the warrant article, we explain, this is the year that we're going to make a purchase.
Okay,
Jay's
I'm
done
sorry.
a look back
Okay.
over, God, 28
All right, I
years,
actually got
or
copies of-
36 years.
I got copies of
Oh,
that.
I'm good.
Where
That
it's
makes me- I just
Well, but
asked that
briefly, I'll
question.
say that it's like 28 out of 36 years, you're buying a new piece of equipment.
Right.
So there are some off years, but it's not like every other year
Oh.
you're down.
If anybody, when we talk about this in public, even though nobody's here. Here's our defense because there's gonna be a couple people that say,
Sure.
oh, we don't need to buy a truck. This is from 1965, which it's all right in those reports right there, that's where I got this info. Every year and a half, we basically buy a piece of equipment. Any years here that you look that we
That's what
skipped,
Bob was saying.
we
yeah.
skipped a couple of years, we followed up by buying 2 in 1 year. So every year and a half, we buy a piece of equipment.
And his master plan calls for not buying a piece of equipment next year.
So what I did was,
Isn't that right, Jay?
Yep.
But we still need to have a capital reserve fund. for
That's
that.
all right, but we'll
I've
still
got
need to
a,
add
which
some
is
money
the
to
next
capital reserve.
discussion.
Right.
I pulled out my 2011 capital plan that I gave you guys back then that showed what we were gonna purchase in the future. And basically, and every year it kinda gets adjusted a little. We change our minds as to which truck we're gonna replace. Basically what we're looking at, 2014, a new small truck, maybe 2016, another new small truck to replace the GMC that gets rotated back into kind of spare truck status. 2020, possibly a new backhoe.
So nothing between 14 and 20?
16.
16 and 20?
So,
4
well,
years.
like I said, remember, every year, this is just an
Oh, no,
rough
I'm asking
plan,
the
it
question, sure,
changes.
I understand.
So, from 16 to 20, the big question right now, we're all set with heavy equipment, loader, backhoe, grader. Those type of equipment last a lot longer than trucks. The big question is how long our big trucks are gonna last us. We got an 08 Paystar. I'm guessing we're gonna get 10, 12 years out of it at a minimum. So that would put us somewhere around 2020 for a big truck purchase. So there is a kind of a lull between 2016 and 2020 as to, maybe we won't need to purchase a small truck in 2016. Maybe we can put it off to 2017. We'll see what
Okay,
happens. Depends.
I'm okay with it, I just,
I'm hoping as time goes on, this average of every year and a half buying a piece of equipment should
spread out.
maybe grow a little bit. If we have a lot of problems, the salt's what kills us. If the Paystar is an 08, so 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So in 2017, as an example, you're getting to the point of whether it's gonna last. In the old, they used to trade big trucks every 7 years. I'm hoping these 2 new big trucks we got that are ruggeder than, and bigger than the trucks we used to purchase, I'm hoping we'll get 10 or 12 years out of them. So that will give us a bigger span. But if it doesn't, you may be looking at something before 2020, but.
The thing that really helped me when Jay put this together was to have some context, because, hey, I'm a first-term selectman. You know, I don't have 20 years behind me of understanding how often these purchases come up, so I appreciate you doing that.
So money-wise, we're in good shape to purchase a new small truck.
And which item was that?
I don't think it's on here.
Well, there's highway truck capital reserve, which is the second from the bottom.
14?
Yeah.
Right, and that's,
And that's got 75 in it. Oh, I'm sorry, what does that have in it?
Let's see,
Yes. It's got 50 in it now, there's 25 going in it next
Yeah.
week.
Yeah,
So I'll make it 75.
But the article has to be worded that the sale of the 2005 that we're trading in, or has to go towards the purchase. Because if we don't have that wrote in the article, when we sell it, the money has to go back to general fund. Follow me? We gotta make sure we don't screw that one up.
yeah.
It goes back
And
into
you've
town
got
funds.
previous articles that you could,
yeah, and I also have resources of people I'm gonna
Great.
check with for everything. And I don't know if they have it this year, but I think it's in effect for next year. They basically have in the Department of Revenue system where basically you plug in your dollar amounts and they write the warrant article for you the correct way.
Right.
So you guys are on board with asking for that?
Yeah, we're not increasing the size of our fleet, you know, and we're getting rid of a higher,
right.
you know.
And
If
we're
any-
actually downsizing.
If
I like
anything,
that.
we're downsizing a little bit. You know, we've talked about it, and we think 2 small trucks are gonna help us more than,
Now, what if we can't sell this 2005 for a while? I mean,
we'll sell it one way or the other. Just a matter if I get the money that I wanna get out of it.
what are you looking to get, you know?
I'm hoping 30. I was offered 25 trade, but we got 20 on the last one that we sold, traded.
Who offered you 25 on a trade? I thought people would take
DePrizio.
them as a trade.
DePrizio, but that was towards a different truck that's a lot more money and that we tried out and didn't like.
Oh, okay.
So unless I can find a dealer that can sell a Dodge or a Ford,
For an international.
and we'll take a trade. The small internationals just,
Not a fan.
it's not cutting it.
Right.
The way it's just not, and it's a more money truck. Instead of a 50,000, the bare chassis truck we're talking about is 50 grand.
Okay,
The little international is like 60 and it's not gonna cut it.
all right.
Sounds good.
So you guys are okay or favor it? I just wanted to make sure you were behind me or not behind me on it.
Behind you 1,000%.
The next thing on my list, I don't know where it is on your list,
It might not be on.
is capital reserve. Capital reserves for everything.
You can see the highlighted ones.
Oh, I think
There's a page that has the capital reserve funds and the highlighted,
basically what it comes down to
This,
yep,
is capital reserves. We've been doing anywhere from 25 to 50,000 a year for trucks. In order to maintain everything for the next 10, 15 years, we need to put away somewhere between 75 and 100,000 a year
For what?
to be able to purchase the trucks in the next 5, 6, 7 years.
is that under the heavy highway equipment or is that under what?
This is just we're talking just highway trucks right now.
Oh, so once you're saying once you
We've only
complete-
been putting 25,000.
But that's the one you're talking about using to get a new truck?
Yes.
Okay, so you're saying that you want to use that, but then you want to take
We're
some
gonna
and
use it,
increase
wipe it out to buy the
So
new
you
truck,
need to do a warrant article to increase it,
but we still need to put,
money into
we,
it.
we need to increase the capital reserves. Unless you wanna slam the taxpayers when it comes time to buy a truck.
25,000 isn't keeping pace.
25,000 isn't keeping, we're pretty good to today.
Right.
Cause when we buy this truck,
Right.
We've got enough money to buy it.
But we may recommend purchasing a truck in 2 years, and
We won't.
and this reserve will be cleaned out with this purchase. So that's where he's coming from, basically, is that we're, 25, what did we talk about? 30, 35? Did we even talk an amount that we felt like was prudent to up that by?
Well, if we're looking at, by 2000, I know this question's gonna come up, so by somewhere around 2020, okay, we're gonna need $400,000 to buy a small, not including 2014's purchase. From 2015 to 2020, we're looking at a possible new small truck, another small truck, possibly a backhoe, because our history backhoes only go 10 years, and a big truck. So you're looking at somewhere around $500,000 between now and 2020.
But what's in the heavy equipment capital reserve?
Nothing now.
Yeah, he depleted that with,
Okay.
Greater.
the grader.
Now, one of the other questions, do we keep the, do we keep the heavy highway, whereas we're not gonna be, I guess backhoe would classify as a heavy highway vehicle, so. So basically, between now and 2020,
What's in 13 right now? The heavy highway equipment. You know what's in that?
Heavy highway equipment?
$39. You mean, or what do we,
What's in the balance right now?
$39.
right here?
What am I looking for? Oh, duh, okay.
And that one has already been,
That was for the grader.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that went over in June to the trustees, and so that is not going in.
So that would be a future backhoe in there,
yep.
and what are you suggesting to put in there? How many years are we gonna
You've
get out of
got
that backhoe?
50,000.
That's the next purchase. We got the backhoe in 2009, I
The
assumed it
highway
was
trucks
used, right?
included That 50,000.
Right.
Yeah.
The proposal is for 50K in the heavy highway and 75 in the highway truck.
No,
No,
Oh, that's what we have,
No.
no, that's,
that's.
I might have.
My
written that
proposal
wrong.
was 75 to 100,000 a year for anything to do with the highway department.
for
capital
both of
reserve.
those.
Okay, so I think I wrote that wrong in the budget.
Hi-
Because that's
the-
125.
The heavy highway could be less,
You
the
said.
truck should be more.
I thought you said with the heavy highway equipment, you wanted to take it, because last year was 125,000, and this year you wanted 50,000 out of it.
But that 125,000 we put in there to top off the grader purchase,
Yep,
some of that was from the unreserved fund balance.
right.
It kind of comes down to what you guys want to do. All I know
That's
is
how we did that last
we
year.
need to do somewhere between 75 and
Took money
100
out of
a
the
year.
unreserved
For
fund balance.
both, or any vehicles, whether what
For
what
any
category
Our
they're in.
paving amount, we,
So would-
and we.
You could do-
So right here, according to this sheet, you had 50,000 in for heavy highway equipment.
Yeah,
And I assume you said that was gonna be the future backhoe
so normally it would have
purchase
been 25K.
for the grader.
25.
Item number 68 on your, underneath.
68.
Oh, on this
I'm sorry,
one.
on this sheet it was 68.
Yeah.
That was the grader, right? Which is
That
now
was the
down to
grader.
$39.
Yes, correct.
So you're proposing a backhoe in the future,
2020,
2020,
of like 150 grand or something.
150 grand backhoe in 6 years.
What's that
So,
divide out to?
well, it's 30 in a year, and that should cover any
What did you say
increase.
for
Put 25 in this year.
Put
Even
25 in this year if you want.
number. Even number.
I was just thinking the increase in price, say it's 150 now, by 2000 it's probably gonna be
And
180.
that's a voted warrant article, usually.
I would put 30,000 in too, John.
So for heavy highway, put 30,
Yep.
okay?
And then for the highway truck fund, which was
50.
50,000, we're gonna buy a small truck, wipe
Deplete
that
that.
account out,
Yeah,
and now we're gonna start it up again
Yeah,
Well,
for the next vehicle.
there's 75 in there.
right, but you're gonna deplete.
I'm gonna
You're
deplete.
gonna
Right.
pull that
Yeah.
out, so we're gonna be back down to zero.
Well, it may not be to zero.
Well, roughly.
Yeah.
But we're gonna start that up again. What do you need to get that going?
50
To start it up?
minimum. Cause that puts me at the 50 plus the 25 for the heavy highway gives me 75, which is my minimum capital reserve.
Well, they're gonna put the
every
heavy
year.
highway at 30, not 25.
30,
Okay.
okay. So what would be the next truck purchase
Probably another small truck in a couple of years.
in a couple of years? And they're gonna be around 75 to, would you say, $90,000?
Yeah.
So you're probably gonna need pretty close
you-
to 50.
So if you do 50 this year, 50 next year, we'll be
You'll have it,
in the ballpark.
all right? Does that sound good to everybody?
Now, keep in mind, I'm
Now, what
not
do we put
trying to
in?
spend your money, I'm just telling you what needs to be done.
I
and
understand.
You and the
No,
taxpayers can decide.
Right, this is all being voted on, so last year, what did we have last year for the highway heavy equipment? What did we do last year for that?
Heavy
Well, it
highway,
was only 25,000 actual dollars. Where's the one
This
we've been
one- there's
looking
this
at
one
all
here.
along?
Dundee was 25, this is the
But we-
2013 budget.
Yeah, we added, so it's 125 on the sheet, but 100 of that was from the unreserved fund
Right.
balance. So typically, it had been 25 every year.
Right, so we're gonna put that up to 30,
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
And this one, we're gonna put at 50, now that's this
Right.
one right here.
that's right.
All right, so we're gonna spend all that money,
Mhm.
okay? And we're gonna put 50 back in there to get that going again,
That's right.
okay?
That's what he's saying.
So item 13 is gonna be 30,000,
Yeah,
and item 14 is gonna be 50,000. And that'll give you 80K.
wait, say again, 13's
I
gonna be
gotta
what?
make phone calls. That's-
Go ahead,
30.
go ahead.
Okay. And 14's gonna be 50.
50.
And that gives Jay 80, and he was asking 75 to 100 to get the funds back up and running. I think that'll get us a good start. You agree with that, Bill?
Yeah, that's fine. Just a question, what about these heavy trucks? I mean, he said in 2020, you're gonna be probably up for one of the big trucks? And where does that money?
That
come
would be under heavy highway equipment?
No.
Or- No, it'd be the truck fund too?
Truck fund.
So we'll have to start
What are you
that up
doing?
again.
from? Oh, okay, because I was trying to find out where that money was, okay.
Okay, thanks.
I think Jay has to get out of here soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to do
Okay,
fire
bye.
another time, I think.
And what's the ballpark price on a big truck? Fitted the way you need it fitted, today?
200 today.
Okay, thank you.
Large truck.
But it's gonna go,
I thought we remembered that, I talked about it, but I wasn't sure. Yeah, everything.
heavy highway is just greater backhoe loader.
Right.
And it was worded that way, so hopefully it would cover all three.
Well, we gotta double check the wording and then
Tell me again,
run that by Jay.
tell me
It's
that,
Very
the
particular.
question is, a
You
big
mean
truck?
of the-
I'm
Heavy
getting-
highway is
Backhoe,
greater,
grader, whatever.
backhoe
okay.
or loader only.
Truck can be only a
Okay,
truck.
where's the big truck?
Truck.
Where is it?
In the truck one, truck capital reserve fund.
Backhoe grader.
Yeah, all trucks come out of
All
that
trucks.
truck.
All trucks come out of the truck
Backhoe
fund.
grader.
Okay. Heavy highway vehicle comes out of, the trucks
Backhoe,
come out of.
grader,
No.
and.
No,
Heavy
I'm
highway.
getting stuck here, that's.
Heavy
I'm getting-
highway is the grader,
Yeah,
backhoe, and what was the other one?
Loader.
Okay.
Loader.
Now,
Caterpillar
where's the
equipment.
truck?
Truck capital reserve fund.
Where's that?
That's
Is it
about,
on here or
it's
is it
I-
on-
it's
It's up.
account number
It's up.
48 on the.
48,
Yeah,
that's the truck fund.
Okay, all right.
So, Jay, you still have to talk about dry hydrants, bridges, and
Yep.
sidewalk repairs.
Yep.
Dry hydrants.
So you guys are okay with increasing capital reserves?
Yep.
yeah.
Basically,
And these are all voted on.
really quick, there's three basic items. Sidewalk repair, I think we forgot it last year for some reason.
Yes, why is that not on there?
It didn't get put on the budget last year.
Oh,
We forgot it, we just totally blew it during budget discussions.
sidewalk repair.
Which is from Chases to the covered bridge, roughly 18 grand. I think it should be put out there and let the taxpayers vote on whether they want to spend the money on it.
From where to where?
Wildcat Service Station to the covered bridge.
The Route 16 side?
Yep.
And that's about a half mile.
Not much to talk about.
How much money?
18 roughly.
Is that, and what is that gonna be? You gonna repave it?
Just pave it.
It's all-
Resurface it.
Shim it?
I tried taking a stroller.
Oh, no. A good 2-inch top coat,
Okay,
not just a shim.
all right. Do you have to dig out?
No. That would be reconstruction, which would quadruple the money.
Right, okay.
Not saying it's a repair.
Are there, what about the curbing? Is that gonna, how does
No
that?
curb.
No, I know, but I mean,
Just the-
you're gonna
just-
have the pavement that
The
much
pavement's
above
just
the
gonna fall
curb,
down to the curb and
sloping it.
it's just a repair.
Yeah,
Because a
yeah.
reconstruction would be
Huge.
huge pain in
Just
the
take
ass.
that out of your salary if we did that.
Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't get
Alright.
much done then.
Yeah.
Bridge,
Touche.
Bridge repair?
bridge fund, we've had this discussion a bunch and we never go nowhere with it. Probably not a good year to,
Well, you have 31,000 in the bridge repair.
That wouldn't even top, that wouldn't even.
What did we spend on Wilson Road Bridge?
That was a cheap one.
20 something
Yeah, that was
maybe,
cheap.
That was 20.
just repaired.
What's the next bridge in line?
For repair work like
Yeah.
that, none that I can think
We don't have
of.
anything flagged.
The bridge fund is for major, well, major and repairs, but nothing, I mean, who knows?
There's nothing glaring.
Nothing
out there.
immediate, no. So it may be a good one to skip again.
Then people get out of the habit of seeing it if it's 2 years in a
Throw
row.
some money at it. I don't know how much to tell you. It's, we could, I mean, if you were to lose a bridge, you're talking $750,000 to replace one.
Right.
Complete.
Right,
So no matter what we save on that, it's never gonna be enough
Never
to
gonna be
replace a
enough.
bridge.
right.
I mean, there's no way.
Do
Nor
you
can
want to skip it, or should we put 5,000 into it to have it out there and in front of the voters? And so that they are refreshed, that we have a separate fund that deals with bridge repair? And if someone wants to question it, we can give them a brief history. Wilson
Yep.
Road,
Yep.
other bridges, cost of a bridge that goes
Valley
out.
Crossroad Bridge, is that coming up?
I'm always just curious about that. It was built in 52 or 56 or something.
Which bridge?
Valley Crossroad.
That was
from
moved
Jackson
from
Falls.
Wentworth. That bridge sat on the abutment from Wentworth
Is that right?
and was moved up there.
Mm.
Because that bridge is just sitting on concrete. Like if you, how you look at it, it's an arch design. There's nothing to do with the structure.
So,
I don't, but back to your question, is that bridge still gonna last a while? We don't know? Okay, I don't know.
The state says it's okay.
Okay, I'm cool.
Nothing's red tagged.
Let's not try to build anything into it in there.
I mean, I really, I don't know. It's not really, you can throw any money at that bridge category and ever have enough to repair a bridge if it ever went down.
Well, y'all did some repair on it a few years ago. I remember there were guys out there painting and scraping.
That was
and-
before me. That was
Oh,
6-7 years ago.
yeah, they were scraping and painting and all that.
That was
so-
before me.
I mean, would that be out of that budget?
Yeah, $5,000. Throw $5,000 at it.
All right, sounds good. 5 for you? Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, we'll keep it going. What's highway equipment?
All right, I'm gonna ask you that too. My next thing on my list is dry hydrant fund. We should throw some money at the dry hydrant fund and let the taxpayers vote on if they wanna do it.
Yeah, I'll explain that.
That's the ponds, the dry hydrants, the stuff like we do to any of the fire ponds or Whitney's Pond or anything to do with
Cameron Drive?
Cameron Drive. As we all know, Whitney's Pond has some stuff going on to it, and I believe we're gonna be asked to throw some money at it, like we always have. And everybody knows the discussions that have gone on with that.
And this is basically dry hydrants. It's a maintenance.
It's a maintenance
Fund.
thing, yeah.
How much do you usually spend in that?
Some years you don't spend any for 2 or 3 years, and then other years you might spend 3, 4, 5, 6 grand, depending on what you decide to do.
Do
I
we
think
have anything coming up?
I gave you guys 5 or 6 selectmen's meetings ago. Remember I gave you a list of the
I
history?
gave the list, yes.
Yeah.
He's got a history
remember
list.
Right, yeah, I saw
I
that.
never, speaking of that, I gotta get a copy from you. 'cause
I have-
can't
I think I
find
have-
a copy.
I
She
have
has
as well.
copies of it.
All right, I gotta get a copy of that.
Don't ask us for copies, man.
What's the advantage of having that separated out as a separate
Item.
fund?
Why couldn't that just be a maintenance issue for town?
Because the taxpayers have always voted on it as an article to decide how much they wanna throw at fire ponds, if any.
Because it's always been that way, that's why.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I like to have less of these personally.
Well, I was gonna say, why wouldn't we throw the fire pond maintenance somewhere else? Just forget it, bury it somewhere in another maintenance, increase the other maintenance for you.
You can do a warrant article to get rid of trust fund.
And that's the other thing, I mean, to eliminate the
You
fund.
know what, that's gonna open a whole can of worms with
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Because they wanna know where that
Right.
money goes with that Whitney's
Yep.
Pond
Okay.
especially.
All right, so,
What do you wanna throw, a couple thousand at it?
I was
Get it going, what do you
thinking-
need?
I was thinking,
Three.
big question mark there, 5 to 10 grand.
Wow,
5 grand being a minimal.
what is your
I could
expectation?
easily, I mean, I got a, in our mitigation plan was an idea of having some kind of water source on Tyrol, like a small water tank, in-ground water tank, for the future. So let's just say we threw 10 grand at the dry hydrant fund, I could use 5 grand of it towards Whitney's Pond as an example, if that's what the taxpayers wanna do. And 5 grand of it could go towards a possible future thing on Tyrol, which is needed.
Why is it needed?
Because there's no water source up there.
So what happens when there's a structure fire
We
up there?
truck it all in trucks from the village, going
That's-
from Valley Cross Road.
And when was the last time we spent money out of that fund on Whitney's Pond?
We
A
did,
couple
we saw
years
that,
ago, we
yes, couple, 3
spent
years
a little
ago.
bit of money up there.
How much is a little bit?
As I recall, and I'm trying to recall this, you rolled it into like $2,000.
$2,000.
Yeah.
I have to look, it's been,
Yeah.
I gave you guys the history.
Yeah.
Right, right.
There was some years where we spent $5,000 on it.
Really?
what do
Okay.
you usually do to spend that kind of money there?
Okay.
What's,
It can be dredging, it can be replacing a dry hydrant, it can be anything.
So, that's a little more money than I thought he was gonna recommend. What do you guys think? Minimum 5, he could use 10, Tyrol's an issue, Whitney's is coming up.
I mean, I guess I talked to my officers about it, because I was having a hard time putting a number on, for example, Whitney's Pond, if we decide, or if people, they ask for money, and if we decide to throw some money at that whole project up there. How do we put a number on it?
Right.
I'm hoping they take care of that themselves. I mean, the dam is that's my expectation is that they're gonna take care of that.
I don't know. My guess is they're gonna come ask us to throw some money at it.
Well, we've had discussions about through the fire is this tank on Tyrol. You know, if you had a basket and you had money in it and you could do something, probably the most efficient use of the money is getting water up on Tyrol. That's where your houses are, and we're talking about timing from filling trucks and running up. If you had a truck or a tank, you're trying to fill a tank, the truck didn't run, those people up there would really love to have that tank up on Tyrol.
Where would it
Although
go?
it's a toss-up whether you put the money into, the pond, or whether you put it, start looking at some kind of feasibility, something for this tank up on Tyrol. I think that's probably,
Can you put a pond up there?
I guess that's the steady parts, I don't know.
It's a long-term future goal, is the Tyrol thing.
Is there town property up there you could put it on? Where would you put an in-ground tank?
There is a small piece of land I've just recently found out the town has where we might be able to. I mean, it's very early stages of
All right, well,
of that.
let's table that.
So if we put 5,000 in,
Five sounds
say we
good.
also wanted, like, maybe you conduct a feasibility study and mention that, and
Yep, there you go.
that may be something we come back for next year.
Yep,
5,000.
next.
That's it for highway, even though the dry hydrant fund was mostly fire, but I think that's it for highway.
What about
Did you
the
submit
32, item, the list on 32 there, the highway equipment?
I have no idea what that is, and I was gonna ask you that.
I can ask, Helene,
All right,
No, I don't think anybody's gonna be able to
Helene
answer that.
she's the.
The only thing I remember is they put 10 grand into a highway equipment capital reserve fund for the 99 engine that they thought they were gonna replace. The
Fire
truck.
engine.
Truck, no, big
No.
truck, town truck,
Oh.
highway truck. But I depleted that money after that truck left to invest in the little truck to keep it up to snuff. So, and I know I spent a bunch of money, and I thought the money come out of this highway equipment fund that was set up for the 99, Now all of a sudden I see this higher equipment capital reserve fund that I got no idea what it is or what it's for. I've never seen this
You
before.
guys
check
don't
it
really
out.
get these on a, I mean.
No, I've never seen this.
Okay, is this helpful?
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've got no idea what it is.
We'll find out.
The other one that I have no idea is this fire equipment,
Mm-hmm.
46 for $1,000. I have no idea what that is. I've never seen it before in my life.
All
So,
right, well, we'll check that one out too.
so I've got no clue as to what those two are.
That's for those nice shiny jackets for the selectmen.
Yes. Yes.
All righty?
That's highway. Do you want to talk real quick?
I think I'm cooked, personally.
Fire, it's pretty simple,
Yeah.
but we got to do it at some point. If we want to do it another
You
night.
do have time constraints?
Can we, I don't have any time constraints, no, but I can do it, I suppose it's not gonna be too long.
Well, what do you say you give us 10 minutes give us your best shot for 10 minutes? John's starting to
Yeah, I
smoke
gotta
in
get
here.
out of here.
He's gotta get out of here too.
Okay.
So,
All right.
well, let's do it.
Let
Bang,
me pack up
bang through it real
all
quick.
this foolish stuff.
Great job on the
Yeah, that was a nice job.
highway department, Jay.
Yeah, hopefully we can explain it to the public without,
I think we're in good shape.
Hopefully you
And
can.
$23,000 backhoe leaks out of there is helpful.
Yeah.
That's a nice drop of coin there.
fire's pretty easy. The
on a
only
roll.
bad discussion with the fire is the capital reserve discussion, which you're not gonna like. Shit. You know what?
A lot of money.
Shit.
Town's worth every penny.
All right. Where's my list?
Burr, 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 burr.
All right, that's, see, now I'm confused.
Good too, it happens.
I lost my highway packet, fire packet, the new one you gave me.
Want that? Is that what you lost?
It's somewhere here.
Okay, go ahead.
I might have grabbed it, Jim.
Wages, no issues there. Fire inspector wages, no
I've
issues.
got another set, Bill.
Gasoline and oil, no issues there. It's pretty minimal for the fire. Operating expenses. What the hell am I looking at
You're
here?
looking at up 3%.
That ain't right.
Uh-oh.
That's not right?
The operating expenses.
These don't
line
match
item?
the ones that I went over with you last.
Yeah, because they're over budget on that one, 749938 is what I had. Is that what
Yeah,
I'm looking
these
at right
don't
there?
match mine.
That's 7.
I got no idea what these are.
These ones here?
Yes. The one that me and you sat down with last week
Yeah.
showed 24,000 in operating, spent budget of 17.
Right. Over 7,000.
See, this is what me and you went over a week ago. That's a copy of it.
Well, that's probably my goof because I took this, it was incorporated in the highway budget and I moved it, so I must have deleted something.
Okay. No. I don't know what that is.
Disregard that. Sorry.
So what do we want to disregard? This?
Well, I don't know, what you're looking at and what I'm gonna look at is two different things.
All right, well,
Well, do you want to just
I
wait?
want everybody to look
and
at
I'll
the
just
same
redo it
thing.
and when we have,
Can we do it Thursday in the meeting? It shouldn't take that long. We just
Let me just go, I got a list, you wanna just go over the list?
go over the list. Yes,
Okay.
good.
and then I'll revise this.
Operating expenses, they're up due to cost of living. Like, when you look at my budget, mine says 24,000 is what I've spent,
Right, I
roughly.
get that.
17 was the budget. The reason for the increase, I had a lot of truck repairs this year, a lot of furnace repairs,
What, furnace?
furnace, office items, and lots of foam due to fires. So, I'm through the roof on that. but that's okay. Because my bottom line's gonna be all right.
Yep.
Back to wages real quick. You'll see that before Nesselnook Fire,
We were in good shape.
we did the raises, and I was in good shape. I was at like 55 grand. I was under budget. Nesselnook Fire threw us.
Well, so you want to keep those the same?
Yeah, because Nesselnook Fire was the very last week of payroll, our payroll.
All right, so moving on.
So no reason to change wages, but back to operating expenses. So I had a bunch of stuff that went over. Special equipment, okay there. Testing, which is testing air packs, testing ladders, testing a whole bunch of stuff, rescue tools. That's due to need to increase that at some point due to cost of living.
Yeah, right on the verge there.
Right on the verge, yep. So I had keep the same. Utilities and propane, that was a Julie item. Training, that was okay. Hydrant services, that's okay. The big add-on here was gonna be equipment repairs. There's a possibility of a pump repair of like $7,000 to one of the fire trucks. So what I wanna do is add a line item which is gonna cover repairing trucks. And 10,000 is the number, which is gonna cover repairing the pump plus a bunch of repairs to the trucks are getting older. That's the basic of it.
Now, that would be different than operating expenses?
Yeah, we're trying to take the operating expenses, instead of have them all in one, we're gonna add a couple of line
Okay.
items. So,
Building maintenance, new account, same reason.
building maintenance, yep, same thing. The building maintenance always was there, it just was in a different place. So now it's looking like my budget's going up, same as the highway, with the building repairs line item, when in reality, it was just somewhere else
Right.
in the whole town budget. So, the problem with the fire station is we've got we've got 5 furnaces in that place. 5 different furnaces, and a bunch of them got some age on them. Due to the fact of the type of garage it is and the old construction you can't just have one furnace doing the whole building the way it's built. and
It's got
designed.
zones and everything
Yeah,
else.
it's just the way it is. We
many
spent a lot of money on furnaces last year, on repairing them. It's gotten to the point where it's time to start updating them.
You mean new furnaces now? Is that
Or
what you're
maybe
looking at?
every year we may have to buy, you're only talking 3,000, these are $3,000 furnaces or so. Not huge, because they're the ceiling hung furnaces that all the
Okay.
garages have. I had,
And that would come out of parts and repairs,
nope, that's gonna be a separate building repairs line item.
building repairs,
Building
Maintenance?
maintenance,
which isn't shown anywhere, right?
'Cause
420.
We didn't,
It's a
yeah,
new
we
one.
didn't, it's a new one.
it's a new one.
And a new dollar amount onto this.
5,000.
You see that?
Yeah, I'll have to redo this, I don't know what I
I got
did.
this one
That's all
here.
right. This is still a good start.
Yeah, 5,000, okay.
I got that guy.
We've had a bunch of lights are starting to fail, the balusters in all the lights. Bunch of painting all the time, just the buildings get some age on it.
Mm-hmm.
One bay of it's fairly new, but the rest of it's got some age on it.
Yeah.
So we're constantly having electrical issues and furnace issues, and so. Emergency communications, that's gonna go up just a tad, and that's due to,
Missed hydrants.
we need to have a backup radio, so Kevin, my radio guru, wants me to budget another $1,000 so that we can purchase this radio so that we can have a spare setup. This year, a lot of years if we don't have any breakdowns up on Tyrol, we don't spend that money. You'll see that this year we didn't spend any of it because we didn't have any issues and there was nothing to do up there.
On which line item?
Emergency
Tyrol.
communications.
Oh, okay.
But this year, 2014, we will be buying batteries. Every 5 years, we gotta buy batteries. That's a 50/50 cost share with Bartlett. And we want another $1,000 for this other radio. And we need a little bit of a cushion in there in case of a breakdown.
Yep.
Dry hydrant fund, we've already talked about that. Capital reserve for fire truck, last item to talk about.
The dry hydrant fund, now this is
The same one we just talked about.
the
at
dry hydrant services here, 92?
No, that's got something to do with fire hydrants.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, it's.
You have to test those all the time, anytime, right?
it's, Hydrant services, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that was
That's got
just,
something to do with the water precinct and the fire hydrants.
okay.
It's, I think
Separate
it's
item.
what we pay for fire hydrants or something. So, capital reserve for fire trucks. Last year we did 50,000. If you want to purchase the next fire truck and not have to hammer the taxpayers with a huge cost, we need to put $100,000 a year away.
Instead of 50.
Yep.
Number three,
Which one are you looking at?
the list of
Oh,
capital reserve.
It's a
funds.
pay now or pay later. 2015 or so.
How long do the fire trucks go last?
The oldest one we got is 25 years old.
25.
2015 or so, we're gonna be replacing the next one. 2020 or so will be the next one at
Fire trucks, you put 50,000.
$475,000 in 2015 is the estimated cost.
That is 100 grand.
Right now, we've got 259,000 in our existing capital reserve fund for fire trucks.
Well, I say we put the warrant article together with that amount because we want people to weigh in. I mean, it's a
Yep.
life safety issue. We've got a long.
They're not
track
cheap,
record here.
they're not cheap at all.
Once we know we
Um,
need to do something supporting the purchase, so. You're pretty clear on that.
And we
Math
don't
is
have the
pretty basic.
luxury, one thing I wanna make sure I stress to you guys is, we don't have the luxury in Jackson of just buying any fire truck off the shelf.
Right.
I mean, you can buy a $350,000 fire truck off the shelf, right?
Won't go up a hill.
But it doesn't cut it for the territory, period.
Okay.
So we gotta, the hills are what's killing us. The truck that we're replacing is one of the most used trucks. It goes out of town, mutual aid truck. It does a lot.
So-
It's the biggest truck we have too for fire trucks, so.
So it's 447.
What I will say is the next truck in 2020 or so that we replace isn't as expensive of a truck. It's a,
Oh, I feel much better.
It's only 442.
well, then you gotta add in cost of living, so
Right,
that
right,
pretty
right.
much screws you.
That's what the cheap ones will be then.
Any questions?
Cheap ones will be what the
Think they're
expensive
both-
ones are today. The cheap trucks will be what the
Like I
expensive
say,
ones
I'm
are
not,
today.
I'm not,
Good shape, though.
I'm here to let you know what you need to do. Taxpayers don't wanna spend the money.
That's fine.
Whatever.
That's why we put it up there.
Other
Makes for good discussion. Anybody
Good
else have
work.
anything? Thank you very much.
This is actually the first year we've actually gotten together early enough, as you can see.
That's what I'd like to do. Get done.
I've been rushed every other year, and the next thing you know, it's last minute.
Right, we don't want to do that. We want to do a good
I mean,
job.
we just spent, what,
An hour and a half. 2 hours.
almost 2 hours, and we rushed through some of it, so.
Well, we don't have to have it finalized yet, so that's the good
Get some
news.
fine tuning and you're gonna work on these just so that
Yeah, I'll have to
they're
get a
all
copy of the one I
merged up.
merged.
Oh, that's
and
fine.
deleted
Sorry.
some.
All right, we'll have to get together for,
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Thanks. And
Take a
thanks for
motion to
working so
adjourn.
well together. Yeah, so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.